Can we get lunch from McDonald's today?
As far as fast food restaurants go, it's pretty safe to say that McDonald's is a go-to. You've got your hamburgers, your fries, and your nuggets. But what about pizza and hot dogs?
Hot dogs.
Oh! Stick with us as we count down the top 10 McDonald's menu items you can't order anymore. Triple Double Burger, Batman Forever Burger.
Can I persuade you to take a sandwich with you, sir?
I'll get drive-through.
Calling all DC fans. Also known as the Superhero Burger, the Triple Double Burger was released in 1995 to promote the release of Batman Forever. It consisted of 3 beef patties and 2 slices of cheese, hence its name, and was served on 6-inch sesame seed roll buns, the same as the beloved McRib. Sports and heroes sometimes go well together, right?
I used to be Batman!
McDonald's seemed to think so because this burger was also sold under a few different aliases, mainly the names of regional sports stars in the 1990s and early 2000s. It was known as the Jason Kidd Burger in downtown Phoenix, Arizona, named after Phoenix Suns player Jason Kidd. In Cleveland, the burger had 2 names, the Michael Dean Perry Burger, named after the Cleveland Browns player, and the Tomey Triple for first baseman Jim Tomey of the Cleveland Indians.
Batman! Oh, it's been done.
Premium desserts.
Without getting into specifics, my exit involves a McFlurry machine.
It's safe to say that McFlurries are definitely one of McDonald's fan favorite menu items. While we're all familiar with the Oreo and M&M versions, there have also been a few other more creative flavors introduced over the years, with one of the most popular being the Strawberry Shortcake McFlurry. It consisted of a strawberry and vanilla soft serve topped with sliced strawberries. It was only on the menu for a limited time, much to the dismay of many customers. In 2017, McDonald's released a Strawberry Shortcake Sundae in conjunction with the Turtle Brownie Sundae. They were called premium desserts, and it's easy to see why.
Just add the extra $2 for the premium edition.
The Turtle Brownie Sundae was a vanilla soft serve with small chunks of chocolate chip brownie, drizzled with hot caramel and hot fudge sauce, topped with whipped cream and salted pecans. The Strawberry Shortcake Sundae featured vanilla soft serve with chunks of white cake and strawberries, strawberry sauce over top, and whipped cream. Unfortunately, these are no longer available. But not to worry, earlier this year, McDonald's introduced the Strawberry McFlurry. It's actually made with sorbet, which means vegan customers can also enjoy this sweet treat. You can order it plain or with Oreo cookie pieces for an added chocolatey crunch. So far, the flavor is only being tested in Germany, but we're keeping our hopes high that it will eventually move its way to the good old US of A.
Fingers crossed.
Chicken fajitas.
And when are the fajitas gonna be ready?
In the 1990s, McDonald's introduced chicken fajitas and breakfast burritos. While a breakfast burrito option is still available, their chicken fajitas have long since been retired. With Mexican fast food chains like Chipotle gaining popularity in the early 90s, it's no wonder McDonald's wanted to get in on the action.
The only thing weird would be if someone didn't like Mexican food because I'm making fajitas.
There isn't a whole lot of information on why the dollar menu item was pulled, but one thing's for sure, it is sincerely missed. If you live in the UK, there's a variation of the classic chicken fajita called the Fajita Chicken One, which you can order with either crispy or grilled chicken breast strips on a toasted tortilla wrap. Canada also has a few different wrap variations if you're looking for a close second to the chicken fajita. For some reason, American options are a little more limited. You've got the sausage burrito featuring fluffy eggs and pork sausage to start your day, and, well, that's about it. McDonald's USA did have wraps at one point, but they were phased out around 2016, only 3 years after they were first introduced. Apparently, there just wasn't much of a market for them and simply created more work for the employees. McDonald's typically aims for a simple menu and speedy service, and wraps just didn't fit this formula.
Speed, that's the name of the game.
McJordan Special.
Who do you think you are?
Let me show you.
The McJordan Special was a value meal dedicated to the legendary NBA star Michael Jordan. It was introduced in 1992 and was only sold regionally in the Chicago area. The value meal consisted of a quarter pounder with cheese, pickles, raw onions, bacon, and barbecue sauce on a sesame seed bun, fries, and a drink. The burger itself, however, was also named the Big 33 and was named after the Boston Celtics star Larry Bird, although most people remember it as the McJordan.
You ever see Michael Jordan?
No.
loved us in those commercials.
If you're really craving one of these right about now, you're in luck. On September 8th, 2020, in the midst of a worldwide crisis, McDonald's graced us with the revival of the McJordan Special. However, it is now called the Travis Scott meal in partnership with the famous rapper Travis Scott. While the original version had McDonald's classic circular bacon, the revival uses normal, modernized bacon strips. Unsurprisingly, the Travis Scott meal was incredibly successful.
Total success!
Fish McBites.
What are those?
McDonald's new Fish McBites.
This is one long-lost menu item that most people would prefer stay lost at sea. Unlike most of the other items on this list, Fish McBites were not so commonly sought after. They were introduced in 2013 and only lasted about a month until they were removed in March that same year. Womp womp. They were the first new addition to the Happy Meals in several years and were likely modeled after McDonald's Chicken McBites from the year prior. The Fish McBites were battered, deep-fried pieces of flaky Alaskan pollock, the same fish that is used in the Filet-O-Fish, and served with tartar sauce for dipping.
Not a tartar sauce. They call this a portion.
Fish McBites came in a special carton container that held dipping sauces in the lid when flipped open. They were marketed towards the Catholic population as an alternative menu item during Lent, and were specifically meant to have a short run. However, they never returned in the following years after that due to a lack of sales. If there's one thing we loved about this discontinued food, it was the advertisements. One of them starred mounted fish and another featured an anthropomorphic fish McBite, each grooving to the catchy jingle for the menu item. Fish, fish, McBites, McBites.
Fishy, fishy.
Fried apple pie.
Best apple pie in the city.
McDonald's apple pie is as old as their Big Macs. Both menu items were added to the McDonald's menu in 1968, with apple pie being the very first dessert offered at the franchise. McDonald's had been struggling with the addition of desserts to their menu, and after brownies and strawberry shortcakes fell short, a McDonald's restaurant owner in Knoxville, Tennessee had an idea. Linton Cochran loved the apple pies his mother used to make for him and decided he would start selling them at his restaurant.
You want a nice shiny red apple to put in that pie?
They were a huge hit, at least until 1992, when the franchise made the soul-crushing decision to move from fried apple pies to baked ones. This sparked national outrage. To this day, many still prefer the classic fried taste to the newer baked apple pies, and there are plenty of recipes online that try to recreate the original. To make matters worse, they changed their recipe again in 2018, this time with the explicit attempt to make it healthier.
I'm sorry.
The new recipe features 100% American sliced apples instead of the diced mixture of yore, and lattice design and sugar sprinkles instead of a cinnamon and sugar coating. History seems to have repeated itself because there was yet another uproar over the pie, this time online. Let this be a lesson, McDonald's. Don't fix it if it ain't broke. Szechuan sauce.
Yeah, I'd like to get a 10-piece McNugget and a bunch of the Szechuan sauce, like as much as you're allowed to give me.
The Szechuan sauce was a dipping sauce for chicken McNuggets and was yet another promotional food item tied to a movie, this time for Disney's 1998 original Mulan. It was a limited edition condiment and was meant to replicate traditional Chinese Szechuan sauce. In the Happy Meal, it was accompanied by 1 out of a set of 8 Mulan toys featuring various characters from the film.
Kids, okay, what's the matter?
Oh no, I left Disney Plus on and it went to Mulan.
Although the sauce was supposed to be discontinued, it returned briefly to the menu in 2017 and 2018. If you're a fan of Rick and Morty, you know why. In a 2017 episode of the Adult Swim science fiction dark comedy series, Rick visits a McDonald's in his memory to experience the taste of Szechuan teriyaki dipping sauce one last time. The gag is then brought up again at the end of the episode when Rick goes off on a tangent, declaring that one day, even if it takes 9 seasons or 97 years, he will finally get more Mulan Szechuan sauce. Fans of the show took to social media to express their enthusiasm for wanting to try the sauce themselves. Thus, McDonald's brought back the sauce for a single day in October of 2017, which turned out to be kind of a bust. They had so little quantity of the sauce that it was barely distributed, and the same went for the limited edition posters they were giving out with the sauce. On February 22, 2018, McDonald's announced that it would bring back the beloved sauce, this time for longer and in a larger quantity, 20 million cups to be exact.
A fantastic Szechuan place around the corner.
McStuffins.
McDonald's? Oh, I just think about that.
This was basically McDonald's attempt at Hot Pockets. They were made of baguettes filled with ingredients like pepperoni, barbecued chicken, or teriyaki chicken, and, of course, cheese. They were released in 1993 and had a pretty short run and were removed from the menu that same year. The commercials are pretty true to 90s culture. The first ad, No Telling, features a McDonald's employee, Jerry, and who we can assume is his girlfriend or simply a friend. He says they're not supposed to tell anyone about the new menu item, but she convinces him to anyway. The commercial ends with him inciting the girl not to tell anyone, but you can probably guess what happens in the second advertisement.
How'd they all find out already?
It's called Who Told and opens in a McDonald's restaurant with a manager and 2 employees wondering how all the customers already know about the McStuffins.
Did you tell anyone we're gonna bake our own French bread all day?
The secret's out. It's the best thing since sliced bread. McPizza.
This is my favorite pizza place.
It's pretty rare to meet anyone who doesn't like pizza, and McDonald's knew this when they introduced the McPizza to their menu in 1989. It started out as a family-sized pizza that workers would bring out and place on racks in the center of tables. It was later scaled down to personal size. By 1991, McPizzas were being sold in over 500 locations before its marketing was put on hold. By the year 2000, pizza was removed from the menu at most McDonald's restaurants. In fact, the only place McPizzas are still available is a location in Orlando, Florida, where you can also still get McPasta. Yes, McPasta, and yes, it's exactly what it sounds like.
McDonald's has pasta dinners.
The reason behind the discontinuation of the McPizza was the time it took to prepare and cook. 11 minutes. McDonald's prides itself on quick service, and it simply took too long for customers to receive their pies. Talk about holding up the drive-thru.
You're late. I'm not paying for those.
So the next time you head to Orlando, you can double your pleasure and get a McPizza and stop at Disney World. McHotDog.
Hey, this hot dog tastes different.
It only seems natural for hamburgers and hot dogs to go together, right? Well, McDonald's founder Ray Kroc would have disagreed. He publicly condemned the food as dirty, claiming you never really knew just what was inside a hot dog's skin. He thought of the quality standards at McDonald's as too high to include a hot dog on its menu. Despite this, the McHotDog was eventually sold at locations across the Midwest as a summer item in 1995. In the late 90s, it was also sold in the UK and was brought back in 2002 as a seasonal item. In Pennsylvania and Toronto, certain restaurants sold it until 1999, although it returned to locations in Pennsylvania in 2007 due to popular demand by local sports fans. As of today, the only place the McHotDog is still available is in Japan.
Hot dog, don't worry, everything's gonna be okay.
It's really good.
It's a little further than traveling for the McPizza, but at least die-hard McDonald's fans still have the opportunity to try the rare menu item.
Whoa! Look what that last hot dog did to me!
Try more great videos and tap that screen, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell to join our notification squad.